Dennis Cox and Chris Lee about to dig in the crates, so turn it up, cause it's time for the culture state. Yeah, we do it for the culture, home of the greats, and in Carolina, good from the culture state. Chris Lee and Dennis Cox about to dig in the crates, so turn it up, cause it's time for the culture state. It's a Carolina state of mind.
Welcome back to another episode of Culture State. My man Dennis Cox right there just cracking up because he's having a marvelous time right now.
Am I?
Yeah, it's a good time right now. It's the week after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And you got the ACC Championship coming up.
That's right.
The Panthers actually won a game. They're on the bye week right now, and so everything is good right now. We have Christmas coming upon us. Mm-hmm. Sam Darnold looked pretty good. All these things. You got Matt Rule continuing to make money. My man's making like $9.2 million a year for the next 8 years.
Gosh.
Like,
it's a lot of corn.
Hey, listen. I need to find out who Matt's agent is.
Seriously, you ain't kidding, man.
We need Matt Rule's agent.
Yeah, we do.
Straight up.
Goodness.
Because my man keeps getting Matt Rule paid. Like, he fails up.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
It's amazing. Yeah, props to him. Props to the agent. Props to Matt Rule. Still getting paid, like you said, getting the job done. Now, before we get into any of these topics, Chris, we're going to remind you out there, not just hammer, elbow drop that like and subscribe button here on YouTube. Make sure you do that. Follow us here on 99.9 The Fans YouTube channel. You have this nice playlist of Chris and I here on Culture State, so make sure you don't miss anything. Again, we have new episodes that drop every single Wednesday. Also, you can watch us on WRL Sports Plus Wednesday nights as well. Now, Chris, mac and cheese and yams. A lot of people really like that. I know you mentioned it last week, coming after Thanksgiving, after the holiday break. I know we should be all done with our leftovers. You should not be eating your leftovers, as you mentioned on Saturday, Chris.
Yeah, we should be done with the leftovers.
We should be done with your leftovers, but apparently a lot of people are in on the mac and cheese and yams, mixing together and touching. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's something that I know it's one of those things. It's strong in the black community, for sure.
Okay.
But like that whole like magic of what happens when you have those two sides next to each other. And I'm the type of person where I don't like my food to touch. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to be straight up about that. I hate when my food touches. Okay. But something is different about the mac and cheese and the yams when that actually touches. There's something magical actually happens when that's there. So that was the number one thing that happened, I said, in the state of North Carolina over the past week in my Raise Up Top 5 on Culture State Saturday, this past Saturday, live on air. Man, it's just amazing. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, I love it. And hopefully you'll get a chance to try it one day, Dennis.
One of these days. Well, I know a lot of the Charlotte Hornets players, you sent me a post. That was one of their favorite sides, the yams and the mac and cheese together. Yeah. So, it's a staple, all right? So it's not only just a thing, in North Carolina, but you see pro athletes and stuff doing that, which I think is pretty kind of cool. I think it's kind of cool. So you're not alone on this. I just wanted to point that out. Speaking of Charlotte, are the Panthers really going to mess around and win the division? Because there's only one back in the win column. Are they really going to do that thing?
Yeah, so it's very interesting. As we're talking right now, let's just go ahead and go to I'm just going to go straight to the standings. It's very interesting because everybody in the NFC South
stinks.
They're all under 500. The league
stink.
Team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 5-6. Here's the part that stands out to me, though, Dennis. If you look at all the teams' divisional records in the division, the Panthers have the best division record there. They are 3-1 in the division. The only game that they lost was a game that you could arguably say they should have won if it weren't for a DJ Moore, penalty at the end of the game with the amazing touchdown catch that he had. And then also Eddie Pinheiro missing an extra point and a field goal that could have led to a win. Other than that, they could be 4-1 right now in the conference and could be 5-7 overall. Crazy to even think about that.
Yeah. The fact that they're just one win, just one back in the win column.
Just one
back in the win column.
And we're coming off of a win against the Denver Broncos, which I'm actually not surprised that they beat the Denver Broncos. Like, especially with the way that the Broncos have been playing this year on offense. I knew that they were a legit defense, but their offense just has not looked good. But then you have Sam Darnold that steps in. He hasn't started since last year. So this is his first time playing under interim coach Steve Wilks.
Yep.
Goes 11 for 19, 164 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He also rushed for a touchdown, which more so he stopped, dropped, and rolled in his way into the end zone because he had that Sam Darnold fumble issue.
Yeah, literally dropped the ball and was just lucky enough to pounce on it.
It was stripped.
No, he dropped it.
It was stripped. It was stripped. You can go back and look at it. It was stripped.
I know. I'm just saying he dropped it.
And
you
look,
said stop, drop, and roll. He got stopped, dropped the ball, and then rolled on it.
A 103 passer rating too.
Oh, that means nothing.
It means something when Russell Wilson, the guy who is considered to be a future Hall of Famer, and Sam Darnold, we don't know if he'll be in the league in the next couple of years, has a better passer rating than Russell Wilson and looked better. But here's the key, though, right? Because Dennis had to go back and do a little bit of research.
Did you go check the tape?
And I was thinking, when was the last time Sam Darnold only threw 19 times in a game? Now, I didn't go past last year, but it didn't happen at all last year. As a matter of fact, the smallest amount I think I found as far as his passing attempts was either 24 or 25. He mostly hovered in that 30 to 32, 34, 35 range. There was even a game last year where he attempted 42 passes in a game.
Oh, that was like the week after Matt Rule said, yeah, we're going to establish the run. We're going to run. And they throw 42 times.
Well, the 42 week, he did throw 41. I know the week you're talking about. I think that's the week you're talking about. He threw 41. The 42 was actually the very last game of the season last year against the Saints. They were just airing it out. Like, we're just trying to get that 6th win and just, and it just didn't happen. I think that is a big part of the story right there because it again shows that Steve Wilks knows his personnel. Steve Wilks knows how to get the most out of what he has. Now, we all agree Sam Darnold is not a great quarterback. He is a backup. But Steve Wilks looked at it and said, okay, this is what I have, and this is how you win with what you have. He's not going to air the ball out. We're not going to even put that in his hands. We're going to run the ball, and then everything else that happens after that is going to be off of the play action. And basically the idea that we could be running it at any time, but you as a defense, you have to be ready for that run or that pass, and that's going to open things up for Sam Darnold, and it did, and it worked. And honestly, it shows how much better of a coach Steve Wilks is than Matt Rule. We've known this, but it really exposes how much better of a coach he is, and even down to we can get to Christian McCaffrey and Deontay Foreman a little bit later. But that's even indicative, too, on how the running backs were used. You can see it with that. And I just want to get your feedback with Sam Darnold because I told you on Culture State Saturday, the conditions are right. This is a good line. This is the best line that Sam Darnold's ever played behind. He still got a little happy feet, but it was his first start in almost a year. But the conditions are right. They're playing against another bad team. Really good defense, but bad offensive team, so there's not going to be a lot of pressure for him to come back from behind. All he has to do is really not mess up, and that's exactly what he did. And he had a good game.
He played okay.
That's all you need him to do.
But yeah, in that situation, when you run the ball over 40 times like they did with Hubbard and with Deontay Foreman, then yeah, you can afford to do that. I don't know. My thing is, you look at it, it's like, okay, you had basically a third of his passing yards came on one play on that big 52-yard pass to DJ Moore. It's okay. It's good that you can have that, but it's still like, what threat is it? You're lucky that you played a bad team because I think if you're playing a good team, you're not going to be able to do that. So I don't know. Again, I've said this before. Every player, every team can have a good moment. And I think, okay, Sam Darnold, his first start, had a good moment. He was okay. Like you said, he didn't screw it up, though he almost did with that fumble at the goal line. Lucky that he dropped on it and rolled in. So he got lucky on that. Again. The
conditions were right for this to happen for the Panthers.
But yes,
and for Sam Darnold. Because look, I mean, let's just be real about what they have left in the season, okay? We thought coming into the season that the Seahawks would probably be one of the worst teams in the league. Seahawks right now might be the best team that's left on the Panthers schedule. They have the
They
Seahawks,
are.
the Steelers, the Lions, the Buccaneers, and the Saints. They've already beaten the Buccaneers and the Saints. Those 2 games will be away. So not saying that that's just going to be easy or a cakewalk or anything like that, but they still have to face those teams that they've already beaten. They can beat the Lions. The Lions are a better team than what we think. And they can beat your Steelers. That is definitely possible. The Seahawks game might be their toughest game left. Just to be real, they could legit finish the season off with their last 5 games 4-1.
I mean, even the Seahawks are sputtering right now. That's really it.
And they're yes.
Yeah, and so I will just say this, because the next to last game, week 17, is the game against Tampa Bay. If you're 1 game behind Tampa going into that game, then you set yourself up to win the division, because you win that game, now you're the division leader, and all you got to do is
we're talking about playoffs? I don't want to say that word right now, but what if we're talking about playoffs in like 5 weeks?
I said it because we're talking about the division. You win the division, you make the playoffs. Okay, honestly, 7-10 might win this division. How pathetic. How pathetic. Seriously.
Hey,
we're
man.
talking about, you know what, they might get
NFL.
picked 10 or they can make the playoffs. One's going to happen. Golly, they're so awful. This whole division, it's so bad. But you know what? It kind of makes it fun. It kind of makes it fun because
It
it's like,
does.
all right, who stinks less?
It does. You're starting to really see the difference in how things are used. Like Matt Rule said he wanted the Panthers to be a running team, but never quite got there. And I don't understand it's like Tony Khan and AEW saying, yeah, I think we should use XX wrestler a little bit more. Yeah, dude, you're the booker. Do it. Do it. You can literally make that decision. Do it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what Matt Rule did. He's like, well, we should run it more. We should be a running team. But you never were, because you let Sam Darnold drop back and throw it 42 times in a game. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
So we're seeing the real difference. A lot of times coaching isn't just the rah-rah and how much you get guys excited for the game or prepared for the game. It's also how you use them within the game based on what their skill set is.
I think Steve Wilks really has earned a long look at being the head coach for this team. I think he really has earned a long look because the players around him believe in him. They play for him. They want to see him succeed. And they've come out and said, yeah, he did not get a fair shake in Arizona, and he deserves a real opportunity. And I think that is the most telling thing, is when your team starts to do that, you really have to give this guy a long look as head coach.
Yeah, absolutely. If he doesn't get that look with the Panthers, somebody else is definitely going to give him a nice little look. So, I mean, shoot, we know that the Houston Texans are probably going to get rid of their coach.
I love you again. Oh, there you go.
Again, yeah. A 1-year head coach, 2 years in a row. They're a mess down there. So if the Panthers don't do anything with Steve Wilks, I could, maybe the Texans could want him. Who knows?
I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. I would not touch that with a 10-foot pole. Yeah. Well, because here's the thing: is that we talk about diversity hiring and things in the NFL. If they do that again, that'd be the second straight year where they've had one and done head coach of a minority, black head coach. Yeah. Like, do you as Steve Wilks want to look at that and say that's where I want to go?
It's a very good point, though. That's a very good point. Like, do you want to do that?
Like, am I just going to walk into Arizona 2.0 again?
And you could really honestly say, like, and you could tell that was the hire. See, a lot of people, when we talk about diversity in hiring, people aren't saying hire me just because I'm black.
Yeah.
They're saying hire me because I am qualified and I'm black. I'm a woman. I'm gay. I'm, whatever else. You know what I'm saying? I'm trans, whatever it is. Hire me just like you would hire this same other person and pay this other person more.
Yeah.
Hire me because I have the same qualifications and I can bring a different viewpoint and pay me that same amount. And I think a lot of people look at diversity as just giving out handouts, and that's not what it is. And you're absolutely right about that. And I think, no disrespect to Lovie Smith or David Culley, I believe that was the name of their coach from before, but those guys shouldn't have been hired in those positions, right?
Yeah.
Lovie Smith has already shown what he could do with Tampa and Chicago. You've had your time. there is other people who are black candidates, D'Amico Ryans, Eric Bieniemy, others that are out there. Maybe even give Raheem Morris another shot at a head coach. But no, you went and got like safe picks, picks that you probably knew wasn't going to go anywhere, but you satisfied the Rooney Rule. So it's like, oh look, we've got diversity.
Yeah.
Here it is, and that goes against the whole reason why you're supposed to do that. And you can tell when it's a slap in the face, and that was a slap in the face, both of them, honestly.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you one bit. But anyway, they might be looking for a new head coach. I guarantee you, Denver's probably gonna be looking for a new head coach after the season. Nathaniel Hackett, dude. Sorry, you can't hack it. Had that one waiting. Love it. Now, speaking of Charlotte, the Panthers play at Bank of America Stadium. We have a championship game this weekend, Chris.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do.
ACC Championship game. Now, I know a lot of people, maybe NC State fans that watch this. We might have some North Carolina fans, maybe some ECU, whatever it might be. We as the state of North Carolina need to band together, put our differences aside in terms of our fandom. We all got to pull for the University of North Carolina because they're playing a school from South Carolina. That's all I'm going to say. We got to band together as one state.
I hate when they just say University of North Carolina like there aren't other universities of North Carolina.
Chapel Hill, my apologies.
At like Greensboro, at Pembroke, at Charlotte, at Asheville, at Wilmington, all that. Fayetteville. Anyway, that's not you, but it's just, they kind of jack that. Anyway, I grew up, you may be able to tell by the way I just said that. I grew up not being a North Carolina fan. Fan of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill is what I'm talking about. I was not a fan of that school, but I'm 100% with you. We are in this state that we call North Carolina. If you happen to be listening to us from South Carolina, I get it if you go for Clemson. I 100% get it. It's like a state thing now. But if you're in the state of North Carolina, no matter who you grew up liking, you can't be an NC State fan and want Clemson to win. To me, it just doesn't work. You can't be a Duke fan or a Wake Forest fan and not want Carolina to win. Like you would want to have this because I think it's better for recruiting in the state. And now you have all these great high school stars that could possibly stay in the state. I mean, you've got guys going to Ohio State, to Tennessee. One of the best defensive linemen that Clemson has is from Winston-Salem, KJ Henry. Yeah. Think about if like NC State and Carolina and Duke and Wake Forest were all this good when he was in high school. Mm-hmm. Well, he has a legit, has something legit to think about.
Yeah.
He has a decision to make. But it used to be cool back when he was in high school just 5 years ago. Wake Forest, they're doing all right now. Duke, they're doing okay, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to play for Cutcliffe. Is he going to be there? NC State, Dave Doran, and then what? Mac wasn't there.
Yeah, it was the Larry Fedora years.
It's Larry Fedora 5 years ago. So, and he didn't like anybody in the state of North Carolina anyway.
Yeah, that's a whole different conversation. That is a whole different conversation because
so now there's excitement, and so hopefully that can keep the excitement and keep the high school kids in the state of North Carolina playing for these great programs.
And there's a lot of great talent that comes from this area. I mean, you look, for example, like Todd Gurley is from Tarboro High School. That's not far from the Triangle. Where does he go? Georgia.
Yep.
Who else?
Bryce Love.
Bryce Love. Yeah, Bryce Love, Wake Forest High School, just outside of Raleigh. He goes all the way across country to Stanford.
Yeah.
Even guys, Dexter Lawrence, his teammate in high school at Wake Forest High School, again, just outside of Raleigh, goes to Clemson.
Yeah.
So Hendon Hooker from the Greensboro area originally goes to Virginia Tech, then goes to Tennessee as a transfer. So why can't we keep these guys here in the state of North Carolina? Now we'll say for a stretch, while Fedora was at UNC, Dave Doran was able to land guys like Drake Thomas, Thayer Thomas, Peyton Wilson, Ricky Person, Bam Knight when those guys were with the team, Ike Ekwonu, all guys in state. Because that was his focus. Like, hey, you know what? Let's try and, quote unquote, build that fence around the state of North Carolina, keep our talent here. Fedora was burning bridges with high schools in the state of North Carolina. And Dave Doran was able to swoop in and take over that.
Yeah.
Seeing a lot of these guys we're talking about that are seniors now that are graduating for NC State, those guys were from the state of North Carolina. And a lot of them actually very local to the Raleigh area, to the Triangle area, or they're getting guys from Greensboro. So, yeah, I think it's important to keep those guys in state as much as possible because, like you said, there's a lot of really great talent, and all these big programs across the country are poaching players from from inside of our state, like you mentioned. So, yeah, the success of long-term success of North Carolina as a state in terms of college football, it's good when those kids stay in state. And that also helps when state plays ECU, App plays UNC, because those kids that maybe looking at UNC might be like a fringe 3-star player, but they see App like, oh, like that actually kind of looks fun too. Like maybe I'll give those guys a look. Yeah, I got contacted by their coach. So you never know. Like that little trickle down effect could take place over time. Yeah,
and
it's a big thing.
Here's another part to think about too. Since the ACC Championship game was made and it was played, the only team in North Carolina that's won it has been Wake Forest.
Yeah,
and that was in 2006.
Yeah,
so like Duke, North Carolina, nor NC State has done it. Now they've all. Has NC State?
NC State has not been.
NC State has not played for one. Duke has played for one. Carolina is playing for one for the second time. Wake Forest played for one last year and they lost to Pitt. But yeah, okay. I just found it right here. We've had Florida State, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Clemson, Florida State, Clemson, Pittsburgh, and now hopefully North Carolina this time around. So. Yeah, we need to go for our state. This will be big for our state, especially because that game is now solidified within the state. It's going to be in Charlotte for a while. We need to have an actual local team. Even though Clemson is technically kind of local to Charlotte, we need to have a North Carolina team to actually win this.
And it's a big year for the state of North Carolina in terms of college football. You and I talked about this past Saturday. Now, I don't have the results of some of the FCS games here in front of me because I know Elon was playing in it.
Elon lost.
I know Davidson was in it.
That was a pretty sizable loss. Davidson lost like 41-0. Garner-Webb won. Yeah. So they're going on to the second round. But if you take those three teams along with ECU, and then you have North Carolina Central, plus the 4 ACC teams that have all bowl eligible, you have 9 teams.
Plus App.
Well, App isn't going to a bowl game.
They're not?
I'll explain that in just a second.
I know they're bowl eligible, but okay, go on.
I'll explain it. There's a little twist to that.
Okay.
So you have 9 teams that are going to have that had some sort of a postseason or will have some sort of a postseason. I don't know if that's ever happened in the state of North Carolina, especially with the 4 ACC teams doing it.
Yeah.
Let's go to App. Their situation is a little bit different. And so I found this out on Saturday, actually, after me and you got off the air. They did have 6 wins, but 2 of their 6 wins were FCS wins. Only one of those counts towards bowl eligibility. So they had to win one of their other FBS games, to officially become bowl eligible. So, yes, they are technically 6-6. Which looks like it's bowl eligibility, but 2 of those wins are FCS wins. You needed only 1 counts towards bowl eligibility. You can't just beat up on FCS teams and just make it to a bowl, which makes sense. So, App didn't handle business.
Well, thanks, App.
They didn't handle their business.
Y'all were
go out there and you beat Texas A&M. You almost beat Carolina, and you can't handle other people in the Sun Belt. So.
To think they were the darlings of college football for about 3 weeks.
Yeah, they had one of the biggest fall-offs ever.
They won September. Like, you may not be in a bowl in December, but you won September.
The national champions of September were the Appalachian State Mountaineers. After that, they just fell off.
Golly. Yeah, so, all right, September, they had that massive fourth quarter comeback against UNC. It didn't win, but still, they put up 40 points in the fourth quarter of that game.
Yeah.
And then go on the road at the time, top 10 Texas A&M, which we now learn stinks because they're not going to a bowl game because they finished with 4 wins this season or maybe 5.
And I didn't think their fans were so fair weather either, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, there's that. And then College Game Day shows up, and they have that same game where College Game Day shows up. They have that crazy Hail Mary against Troy. It's like, yo, App State, let's go. App State. And they had their conversations like, well, who's the best program in the state? Which program would you rather be a part of? As a fan, these kinds of discussions. And then we have this.
I will say this, though. And, there might be people that fight against this, but I don't know how you could. But Appalachian State has been the most consistent FBS team for the last 9 years.
No doubt.
In the state of North Carolina.
No doubt. You're consistently 9-10 wins.
Them finishing a season at 6-6, not bowl eligible because you beat 2 FCS teams. This is a down year for Appalachian State. So when we talk about a fall off, we're talking about them as if they went 0-12. This is falling off for Appalachian State because they've been used to bowls for the last few years.
They've been used to competing for a conference championship every year.
Yeah.
Like that's a standard for them, is a conference championship. That's their standard. So when you go 6-6 and you don't make a bowl game, that's a drop off.
I'd honestly argue that this was a fall off year for Wake Forest, even though that they are bowl eligible themselves, 7-5. That's falling off for them under Dave Clawson. Even though that they've made, bowl appearances with that same record, they were steadily going up. It was like, okay, 7-5, okay, 6-6, okay, back to 7-5, 8-4, wait a minute, 9-3, and then just to come back down that's not good for the program. But I could honestly say that Sam Hartman doesn't look like himself. There's something going on with that. I know he had the injury early in the year that kept him out for a couple of games.
Yeah, he had the blood clot issue early in the season.
And he said he's gonna move on. I don't know if he's just kind of tired of being in college. He's been in college for 6 years.
Yeah, I
could come back for a 7th year.
I talked to him at the ACC kickoff, and I asked him, "Hey, what are your plans after this season, knowing they had a year of eligibility left?" This was back in July, and he says, "This is it." He said, "This is it for me." And it's like, makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense for him because age eventually does play a factor into you when it comes to going professionally. Because okay, you can be in college for 6-7 years. For you're 24, maybe 25 years old, trying to go into the NFL, and the NFL teams are gonna be like, you're kind of aged out already in terms of your development years. How much further can you develop? And once you get to that point, you might be at a point where we know we can go find a guy who's 21, same skill level that we can develop to better than where you are possibly right now at age 25. So those are all things to take into consideration. Does he have a chance to make an NFL roster as a backup? I think so.
Or just even the idea of, I've been in college for 6 years and
there's that too.
I know that I wish I didn't wish my college time away, but at the end of 4 years, I was done.
Yeah, I was ready.
Hey, I'm glad that I'm leaving. And, I wish, looking back, I didn't feel that way. But this man has been in college for 6 years. Yeah. And, he's seen it all. And, for you probably also add in the fact that he's in Winston-Salem. So, hey,
it's a pit stop in his life, man. It was a 6-year pit stop. It's a good one.
But, sometimes you want to be ready to move on. You just want to be done with a place. And 6 years, think about how many people don't stay in the same job for 6 years these days anymore.
Yeah.
So, he probably literally is just like, hey, I'm good. I've been here. I've done it. I've set these records. I'm good with that. Yeah. I just want to go.
People don't even stay in marriages for 6 years.
I have. We're going on 9 years, baby. Nice. January will be 9 years married. That's more than so many other people. I forgot which couple. Some celebrity couple got married right after us and then got divorced a few months later. It was like, of course, we made it longer than the celebrity couple. That's what's up.
I'm also not surprised by that, Chris. I'm also not surprised by that. Maybe one of these days I'll hit a marriage. There we go. That's the goal.
You get there. It's going to take a whole lot more mac and cheese and yams to get there. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure that you subscribe. Elbow drop that subscribe button right there on YouTube. And make sure you follow us. A lot of funny content that this guy has coming out as still Matt Rule.
Hey, you're in those videos too, my man. You ask those hard-hitting questions. Which okay, in all honesty, go at the Fan Rookie, put out some Matt Rule introductory press conference stuff from getting hired at Nebraska. Chris is asking me questions that I legit did not know was coming. Legit did not know they were coming. And it was a little bit of improv off the cuff. It was fun.
The first video we knew we were doing that.
Yeah.
But I just, the journalist in me kind of took over. I started really asking questions.
It was fun.
But we had to laugh in between. Thank you guys so much for watching. and listen. We'll see you.
Lea Dennis Cox about to dig in the crate, so turn it up, cause it's time for the culture state. Yeah.